Hi everyone, Jessie Bloom here. I'm going to take you on a tour today to talk about ground covers. I think it's one of the most overlooked layer in our gardens, and I think that we would have a lot less work and a lot more benefits in our gardens if we utilize that layer and had as many as we could growing so that weeds aren't growing as well. Okay, here's one of the ground covers that's right underneath a big magnolia. And you can see I've got a hosta popping up through it. There's a dandelion, and right at the edge of where it's spreading is where you'll find any weed growth. So here we got a big leaf maple coming up. That one will come out. Some stinky bob, that will come out. Here's a little weed that likes to spread in my garden though. It's about to bloom here pretty soon. It's got yellow and orange flowers. It's a little woodland poppy. So this one's herbaceous, does not grow in the winter, so it comes up every spring and it spreads more and more. Here's a ground cover that also can grow in the shade, this blue flower. This is called forget-me-not, and it is just gorgeous right now. It's all through my garden. It self-sows, so it spreads. You can see it's just about everywhere. One of the downsides of this plant is that after it's done blooming, about mid-June, it needs to be either ripped out or managed in some way. I tend to take a little electric weed trimmer to it. So some more ground covers. Here's one. It's hot today, so it's a little stressed. This one likes shade as well. It's called Lady's Mantle. This one is really beautiful. I've got it mixed here with a lamium, a golden lamium, and you can see there's more of the forget-me-not. Tucked away here, you'll see a little big leaf maple start, easy to weed out at this point, some baby lady's mantle, and a strawberry. So one of my philosophies is to let a lot of ground covers in one area take over, and then they can all compete with each other. Okay, we're in a spot that's underneath my deck, so you can see here it's pretty solid shade. And I originally planted sweet woodruff, and it grew out to a point where it met up with some strawberry. Now this is an alpine strawberry, and it is really thick right in here along the edge, so it gets partial sun. I have a few ferns and some other herbs popping up, but this is a really good ground cover for those areas that are in between sun and shade and transitions well. But it's an edible too and can handle full sun. It's not going to be this thick in full shade though. And you could just have it meet up and share space with another ground cover. Okay, another ground cover that's herbaceous, has great little flowers. This is called viola, and you can see how dense it is right here. This is underneath that same magnolia. One thing you'll notice in most of my gardens is that there's not a lot of exposed soil, because when you have exposed soil, that's when the weeds can grow, because nature doesn't leave it exposed like that. Pioneer species move in. So do the job and make sure that that ground is covered so you have a lot less work to do. Okay, here's one last area that I'll show with a bunch of different ground covers, and you can see that the textures and the heights of all these plants are very different from each other, which is a part of the aesthetic that I personally like. And I don't consider ground covers all to be 2-3 inches high. I actually look at hostas or ferns. This is a creeping jenny down here. You can see it's a little bit messy looking because I haven't weeded out or taken care of the bulbs that are growing. But as a rule of thumb, the lower the ground cover, the more weeds are going to get into it. And so as I walk around here, we're under Wanda here. She's just my magnificent cherry. You can see the creeping jenny, which is the yellow one. And then this lamium that we showed earlier going down to the sweet woodruff. So I'm just repeating a lot of what I already have. And that's what makes a really beautiful garden, in my opinion. Now looking up this pathway here, there are the patterns that you can see that repeat themselves with different colors. And there is a ground cover here that I don't particularly like, or I guess that's not the right way to describe my feelings for it. There's just so much of it in itself. So this geranium gets fairly large and takes over and then crowds out other ground covers. So you have to be careful for plants like that. This guy does too. I forget the common name of it, but it gets about 2 feet tall and its seeds go everywhere. So one way to avoid spreading is to cut the seeds. Now you can see there are some weeds in here. It's a little bit easier to weed. Here's some stinky bomb when so much of the ground is covered. And these plants do a really good job of protecting the soil, so the plants are easier to pull. Now in there you can see that is actually an evergreen huckleberry I planted. So I'm trying to get the shrub layer established. But meanwhile, these ground covers are keeping the roots shaded, and so I don't have to do a lot of mulching. That's one of the greatest benefits here for having ground covers. All right, here's a list of plants that I featured in the shade ground cover video. Be sure to check out the other work that I do, my books, different social media channels, and subscribe to the YouTube channel here. I'm going to be posting a lot more videos.